Guten Morgen, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. Wir starten jetzt gleich mit der Session Digital Health, Joint Vision for European Citizens and Patients. We will be in a moment be welcomed by the Secretary of State, Dr. Edmund here from the Health Ministry. Wir werden gleich vom Staatssekretär begrüßt, Herrn Dr. Edmund Heller. Aber ich gebe das Wort zunächst an Professor Dr. Gernot Marx von Universitätsklinikum Aachen und zugleich erster Vorsitzender der Deutschen Gesellschaft für Telemedizin. I'm handing over the word to Professor Gernot Marx from University Hospital in Aachen and head of the German Society for Telemedicine.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Schug. Yes, Secretary of State, Dr. Heller, Dr. Avixio, Dr. Piha, Mr. Gerritsen, Mr. Kramer, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, welcome here in Düsseldorf at the Health IT Forum during the Medica. It's my great pleasure and honor to welcome you to this. And we will discuss here the joint vision for European citizens and patients, and this is a very important topic, and I welcome you in my function as the President of the German Society of Telemedicine, together with Dr. Schug from the Strategie here in Bochum. And we have chosen this topic because we are living really in exciting times where the potential of digitization is enormous, and the future indeed seems very bright from our point of view. But we need to make it. We need to make the most out of this future. It's not a self-fulfilling prophecy, and really we need to make the most out of it for our patients. It's not about the IT, it's not about the structure, it's not about regulations. In the end of the day, we need to care for our patients, and this is very important for me personally as a medical doctor, but also for us as a community. And this is very clear that this must be our utmost priority. In order to get there, to really to get this goal and to develop telemedicine and eHealth, it is, as I said, not a self-fulfilling prophecy, but we need to develop our goals, and we need really to develop a vision, initially a common vision, and this is therefore the topic of this forum. And when we have a vision, a joint vision, and really cross-border and a European level, not only regional, not only national, it must be a European vision in the end, then we can define milestones, and then we will make our trip and our road map, and then we will achieve the goal. And the potential in the next 10 years, I think we cannot imagine what we will have in our hands for our patient in 10 years' time. Just one example, in 21, the medical knowledge will double every 73 days. Because of artificial intelligence, it will be enormous, the amount of advantages we will make in the really not too distant future, and it is absolutely important that we are aware of that and that we make it. And therefore, I'm very glad to have you all here, and that we can now really define our vision to make our roadmap. And in this respect, I welcome you again. Thanks very much, everybody who make this year reality, and I'm looking forward to a very fruitful and really resultful discussion today. And I wish us and for our patients all the success we need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, yep.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Marx. So it's now my pleasure to welcome the Secretary of State of the Ministry for Work, Health and Social Affairs of the State of North Rhine-Westphalia, Dr. Edmund Heller. Ich werde jetzt wieder auf Deutsch weitermachen. Herr Dr. Heller wird jetzt auf Deutsch zu uns sprechen und spricht zu dem Thema Nordrhein-Westfalen auf dem Weg zum digitalen Gesundheitswesen. North Rhine-Westphalia moving towards digital healthcare. Dr. Heller.
Sehr geehrter Professor Marx, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, liebe Gäste. Ich freue mich, Sie hier im Namen der nordrhein-westfälischen Landesregierung auf dem Medica Health IT Forum zu begrüßen. Ich tue dies auch im Namen von Minister Laumann, der für Gesundheit und Soziales in diesem Land die Verantwortung trägt. Das heutige Forum trägt der großen Bedeutung internationaler, insbesondere europäischer Entwicklungen für eHealth und Telemedizin Rechnung. Die Veranstaltung wird gemeinsam vom Zentrum für Telematik und Telemedizin und der Deutschen Gesellschaft für Telemedizin ausgerichtet. Beiden Beteiligten möchte ich an dieser Stelle im Namen der Landesregierung ausdrücklich danken. Wir haben eine Reihe hochkarätiger und fachkundiger Gäste aus Europa heute hier auf dem Forum. Besonders heiße ich den Generalsekretär für digitale Dienste und Innovation im Sozialministerium von Estland, Herrn Ein Avikso, willkommen. Ich weiß jetzt nicht, ob er... Ja, doch, er ist da. Herr Avikso stellt uns heute die Erklärung der estnischen EU-Ratspräsidentschaft zur digitalen Gesundheitsgesellschaft vor. Er war Gastgeber der hochrangigen und wegweisenden eHealth-Konferenz zur digitalen Gesundheitsgesellschaft Mitte Oktober in der estnischen Hauptstadt Tallinn, bei der einige der hier Anwesenden auch anwesend waren, wie ich vorhin gehört habe. Weiter freue ich mich über den Besuch von Herrn Erik Gerritsen, Generalsekretär im niederländischen Gesundheitsministerium, und ich begrüße Herrn Dr. Tapani Piha, da ist er, Vertreter der EU-Kommission. Er ist Arzt aus Finnland und leitet das Referat Grenzüberschreitende Gesundheitsversorgung und eHealth bei der Generaldirektion für Gesundheit und Lebensmittelsicherheit. Schließlich vertritt Herr Niklas Kramer das Bundesministerium für Gesundheit. Er ist dort für die Koordination der deutschen Aktivitäten mit Europa verantwortlich. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, man hätte wohl mit Blick auf das Thema Digitalisierung kein besseres Land für die EU-Präsidentschaft finden können als Estland. Estland ist Vorreiter der digitalen Gesellschaft. In Estland wurde zum Beispiel frühzeitig der digitale Personalausweis flächendeckend eingeführt, weswegen viele Regierungsdelegationen sich auf den Weg nach Estland gemacht haben und weiterhin machen. Kein Wunder, dass Estland die Digitalisierung aller Gesellschaftsbereiche in den Mittelpunkt seiner EU-Ratspräsidentschaft gestellt hat. Die Erklärung zur digitalen Gesundheitsgesellschaft, die von der estnischen EU-Ratspräsidentschaft initiiert wurde, greift die Vorschläge von mehr als 100 europäischen Organisationen zur Entwicklung von eHealth in Europa auf. Die Erklärung stellt die aktive Beteiligung und Mitwirkung von Patientinnen und Patienten an ihrer Versorgung und den sicheren und umfassenden Austausch von Gesundheitsdaten in den Mittelpunkt. Die von Estland geforderte sogenannte 5. Freiheit im europäischen Binnenmarkt, das heißt der freie, ungehinderte Fluss von Daten, kann aber nur dann Realität werden, wenn sie von umfassenden Maßnahmen zur Datensicherheit und zur Vertrauensbildung unterstützt wird. Die Europäische Datenschutzverordnung, die Mitte kommenden Jahres in Kraft tritt, könnte dafür eine gute Basis sein. Die Digitalisierung aller Lebensbereiche ist eine Herausforderung für unsere europäischen Gesellschaften. 2010 wurde die Digitale Agenda für Europa verabschiedet. Sie ist bis heute Richtschnur europäischer Politik. In der Agenda werden unter anderem das flächendeckende Breitbandinternet und eine bessere Abwehr von Cyberattacken thematisiert. Viele Mitgliedstaaten haben diese Themen aufgegriffen. Weitgehend noch nicht umgesetzt sind Forderungen der digitalen Agenda zur flächendeckenden Einführung von Telemedizin, Telemonitoring und Online-Konsultationen. Zu nennen ist auch der eHealth-Aktionsplan 2012 bis 2020 der EU, innovative Gesundheitsversorgung für das 21. Jahrhundert. Neben diesen Plänen stehen heute gesetzliche Vorgaben, die in allen Mitgliedstaaten umzusetzen sind. Gemäß der EU-Richtlinie über die Patientenrechte in der grenzüberschreitenden Versorgung müssen alle Mitgliedstaaten auch grenzüberschreitende eHealth-Anwendungen ermöglichen. Die Umsetzung haben die Mitgliedstaaten in den vergangenen 5 Jahren mit dem Artikel 14-Netzwerk in die eigene Hand genommen. Dieser Prozess ist mühsam, aber die ersten Ergebnisse, wie zum Beispiel europaweit akzeptierte Datenformate, werden langsam erkennbar. Es bewegt sich viel in Europa, aber man kann den Eindruck bekommen, dass davon noch zu wenig im Versorgungsalltag ankommt. Dies betrifft auch die europäischen Anwendungen zur grenzüberschreitenden Versorgung, die Patientenkurzakte für Notfallbehandlungen, Patient Summary for Unscheduled Care, und die wechselseitige Einlösung von elektronischen Verschreibungen. Das Notfalldatenmanagement steht noch ganz am Anfang und das elektronische Rezept wird im eHealth-Gesetz überhaupt nicht aufgeführt. Zu begrüßen ist, dass die Gesellschafter der Gematik einen eigenen Ausschuss zur Begleitung der eHealth-Aktivitäten der EU gegründet haben. Nordrhein-Westfalen wirkt stellvertretend für alle Länder in der Unterarbeitsgruppe Europa der eHealth-Initiative mit. Meine Damen und Herren, das deutsche Gesundheitswesen ist, was die medizinische Versorgung angeht, eines der besten in Europa. Wir haben Krankenhäuser und Universitätskliniken, aber auch zahlreiche Arztpraxen, die über die neuesten Informations- und Kommunikationstechnologien verfügen. Dieses Potenzial steht in deutlichem Gegensatz zum noch unbefriedigenden sektorübergreifenden Einsatz von Telematikanwendungen und von Anwendungen der Telemedizin. Allenfalls in regionalen Modellprojekten kann ein Arzt oder eine Ärztin in Deutschland dem Krankenhaus elektronisch die einfachsten Informationen übermitteln. Ein Notfalldatenmanagement findet ebenso wenig statt wie eine übergreifende Überprüfung der Arzneimitteltherapie-Sicherheit. Die Telemedizin erreicht derzeit einen Versorgungsgrad von unter 1%. Von einem flächendeckenden Angebot strukturierter elektronischer Patientenakten sind wir derzeit weit entfernt. Auch die Kooperation zwischen Patienten und ihren Ärzten spielt sich weitestgehend in der analogen Welt ab. Nordrhein-Westfalen ist mit 18 Millionen Einwohnern das größte Bundesland Deutschlands. Wir wollen die Chancen, die das im letzten Jahr in Kraft getretene eHealth-Gesetz bietet, nutzen, um eine umfassende Telematik-Infrastruktur aufzubauen und eine Strategie zur Digitalisierung des Gesundheitswesens in Nordrhein-Westfalen zu entwickeln. Ich nenne nur beispielhaft einige Punkte, die zu dieser Strategie gehören. Wir wollen alle 120.000 Arzt- und Zahnarztpraxen, über 350 Krankenhäuser und ca. 4.400 Apotheken sowie die Pflegeheime und weitere Einrichtungen des Gesundheitswesens vernetzen. Koordiniert wird dies durch eine Projektgruppe aus Selbstverwaltung und Industrie unter Vorsitz des Gesundheitsministeriums. Wir haben damit begonnen, in Nordrhein-Westfalen die Telematik-Infrastruktur aufzubauen. Die erste Arztpraxis in Neuss, hier in der Nachbarschaft von Düsseldorf, wird unmittelbar nach dieser Medica technisch so ausgestattet werden, dass sie in der Lage ist, sektorübergreifend und sicher zu kommunizieren. Wir wollen möglichst alle Anwendungen nach dem eHealth-Gesetz frühzeitig einführen und erproben. Wir wollen Videokonferenzen und das Vitalwerte-Monitoring flächendeckend einführen. Wir machen Nordrhein-Westfalen zum Sitz des elektronischen Gesundheitsberufe-Registers. Das Forum Elektronische Patientenakten, das auf Beschluss der Gesundheitsministerkonferenz von Nordrhein-Westfalen als Vorsitzland der Bund-Länder-Arbeitsgruppe Telematik im Gesundheitswesen eingerichtet wurde, koordiniert derzeit bundesweit alle größeren Aktenprojekte. Nordrhein-Westfalen setzt auf die elektronische Fallakte, die auch von der Deutschen Krankenhausgesellschaft und der Krankenhausgesellschaft NRW unterstützt wird. Schließlich soll die Öffentlichkeitsarbeit mit dem Portal e-Gesundheit NRW und mit Gemeinschaftsständen wie hier auf der Medica verstärkt werden. Dies alles ist nur umzusetzen mit einer engagierten Selbstverwaltung und ihren Kooperationsstrukturen. Am Landesgemeinschaftsstand hier in Halle 15, der vom Zentrum für Telematik und Telemedizin organisiert wird, können Sie sich davon überzeugen, dass Nordrhein-Westfalen auf einem guten Weg in das digitale Gesundheitswesen ist, aber auch eine lange Strecke vor sich hat. Vielen Dank.
Vielen Dank, Herr Dr. Heller, für Ihre Einführung und auch für den Hinweis auf die Rolle von Estland, die wir heute Themen, die uns in den Tag führt. Ich darf dann jetzt die Podiumsteilnehmer hier zu mir bitten. Switching. I would like to welcome the panelists now here on the floor with me. So it's Ein Avikso. From Estonia. He's the Deputy Secretary General for E-Services and Innovation. He has already been introduced by our State Secretary. Then I would like to welcome representative from the Commission, Dr. Tapani Piha. He's the Head of Unit Cross-Border Healthcare and eHealth of DG Santé. And we have also another representative of the Commission who we will listen to later on today. Then it's my pleasure to welcome Erik Gerritsen, Secretary General in the Ministry of Health, Welfare and Sport from the Netherlands, and Niklas Kramer from the Federal Health Ministry in Germany. So welcome here. And okay, I just note gender balance we did not manage, but for the rest, at least we have a nice geographical spread. So the idea of the panel is that we will now listen to all the panelists who will provide an introduction from their perspective, also supported by a short PowerPoint presentation. And the first word is, where is it? Sorry, with Ein. He will speak to us on the Digital Health Society Declaration by the Estonian Presidency of the EU. And Ein has really a special role, not only behind this Digital Health Society Declaration. He was also to my understanding, let's say the leading host in Estonia in the middle of October for the European eHealth conference inspired by the Digital Health Society. So, Ein, thank you for coming to us, and we know you have taken a long travel. We really appreciate.
Thank you, Stephan. Ladies and gentlemen, good friends I can see here. Regardless the fact that I did start early, since I had given the promise to be here quite some time ago, but I didn't expect back then that what I'm going to tell you is actually making me even more happy than we initially planned it. So the Digital Health Society as guiding principle for Europe was now about 7 months ago just an idea. We were preparing our Estonian EU presidency. We were planning to have it on the first half of 2018, but some people in one European country decided that they want to spoil the party, which means that our Estonian government decided that, okay, Estonia will take it 6 months earlier. Which meant for us that the preparation period, how we would pursue with our ambitions regarding digital health had to come earlier. And then actually we have been inventing the whole thing as we have been going. I can already before, thanking in the end the Commission, Sante, Connect, Research, Just and others, but also several member states, Germany, the Netherlands, already represented here, which have actually come and work together, and that has given also to us courage to go beyond just civil servants, talking between each ourselves, either in member state or in the Commission, but also embrace different stakeholders, businesses, stakeholder organizations, professionals, patient groups. So this is what Digital Health Society is about. Now, I will only very briefly touch upon why it is, because what it is on a very specific area, Eric Gerritsen will tell you. Now, we know that a digital single market is the core strategic goal. And in addition, digital health has been defined as its cornerstone. So we know this is important. We can see a huge mess each year. The IT or the eHealth component is growing, which means that, okay, let's try to do something. Now, the question is very often asked, and even though I'm not that fluent in German, I understood that still the issue, okay, the technology companies tell that we have the solutions, even some policymakers think this is important to do, but what do citizens think? Well, we know that majority of Europeans have access to fast internet, they're using it, and they want their health data to be made in use. So 70% are willing to share it, while 23% are not willing to share it, and both those numbers are important. So there are people for whom we owe those opportunities, and they have to be able to use that. And the minority part, which still has their reservation, also should be acknowledged, and then their rights for privacy and security guaranteed. So for the presidency, we discussed that since healthcare is something which is considered to be the topic for member states, very often the question rises, so why are we talking about it at the European level? And I must tell that I stole it from one panel that I participated in 2 months ago, when somebody said that, do you know that ministers of finance discuss every 2 weeks taxation issues at the European level? Very national thing. Doesn't mean that the taxation has to be in the end universal, but it doesn't prevent thinking how to collaborate. So that was also something that that gave strength to us, that we are not striving for immediate more harmonization, but we know that there are certain things which give us the political mandate to make digital solutions more accessible and available to citizens. It increases the access and safety in healthcare, very much a European agreement issue. Sustainability of health systems. Big part of public budgets are devoted to healthcare, which means that the solutions which help to maintain that also support the fiscal prudency and sustainability of public budgets. And last but not least, the new economic opportunities we know are increasingly coming from digital technologies. We know that we can't fix the whole world in a 6-month period, so we choose with Estonia to focus on the free movement of health data, which in the health domain means that citizens should be in control of their data, and there will be devoted one panel on that today. And also what it takes to make healthcare as an asset. So if we put data into use, develop new services, new products, actually we can see, and I am very happy already 2 years ago when I learned that Finland is, as far as I know, the first country which has health and growth strategy as one single strategy for the country, which has been agreed by the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Economic Affairs. So this is not that the health ministers are the ones who only spend the money and then the others are who earn it. So we need to change that attitude. Now, also, as said, we decided we don't start, thinking what new regulations can help us to make people more happy, because we think there are already quite good regulations up there and we should start implementing them. So the presidency focused on 3 areas. I'm starting from the bottom one. Yes, there will be council conclusions. Yes, health ministers, as far as I have the information, after 3 rounds of negotiations, will give quite a strong message in December about that they want digital solutions to solve the accessibility, quality, sustainability, and also economic development issues. Second, on the left-hand side, yes, we had a few weeks ago successful conference in Tallinn where we were discussing what the practical things could be done. And now I will come to the main topic of this panel and my presentation in the end. It is that the digital health society is the one that can deliver to the citizens, together with civil servants, be it at the national level or at the European level, the actual outcome of digital solutions at the European level. 2 slides, not more. First, it was on May 9th, I believe. We summoned in Malta, it was hot. I just arrived from Estonia, which still had a cold spring. And we summoned a few people into a room, which in the end we had to fill up with as many chairs as we could, and then many people were standing. And we decided, so in addition to this government track, can we provide something to the stakeholders? And there, this Digital Health Society idea was born. And then the very gentleman you're going to hear in a second there, Gerritsen, stood up. You see, he's a big guy, can't be unnoticed, and said, what the heck, why are we only talking? Let's do something. And then the suggestion that, okay, if we have the declaration, but then if we have the task forces where the countries and organizations who are willing to start implementing standards or then legal arrangements around security and privacy in cross-border settings. So the Netherlands, I know, Finland, Estonia, Germany could agree on what are the first set of standards that we voluntarily implement in the same way, so that our companies who provide services would have access to the larger markets, and so that our citizens who deserve new solutions wouldn't only rely on the companies that are operating, and I can tell you in Estonia 1.4 million people. That is far too much to expect that all those good solutions will come from Estonia. We want German solutions also to come to Estonian market. And yes, we want Estonian companies to sell in German market as well. So the declaration lists quite specifically tough challenges in 8 domains. And I won't go through them in detail because you can see that on the website. Those organizations and companies who have not joined with it yet, please sign it up. We are reaching to 100 pretty soon. It would be nice if you can say that you are among the first 100 once we get to thousands. But more importantly, there are 4 task forces, each trying to solve very specific area. Convergence roadmap. Roadmap means that this will be implemented. This will be implemented by those countries who are willing to go first. Citizen-controlled data. We will discuss that in one of the panels later on. Legal framework. We know that the GDPR will come into force next May. We know that there is a lot of room for interpretation left to member states, and this is fine as long as those countries who want to share the best practices that they have and start implementing them together instead of reinventing the wheel could do so. And we have also learned that it is not about companies, it is not about policymakers, it is actually those two working together how to transform the health system. And the task forces have their first job done. They have, let's say, drafts of the outcomes, and now each organization and individual can join and work with them. And then the civil servants then have the job and task to make these agreements implemented in regions, in countries, together. And if at some point the European Commission will support us, which I have the reason to believe they will, it will be also implemented widely. So this is how we have supported at the presidency side activities, not only at the policymakers level, but actually on the ground with different stakeholders, so that we would have, for instance, 100 million connected and healthy Europeans in 2025, either for research purposes or then, for instance, for those 35 million Europeans who have rare diseases and who might want to seek treatment in another country with a center of excellence, but still keep the care pathway connected with their home country. So that was our contribution to the Digital Health Society, but you will hear more specifically from the next presenters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ein. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, we will have a joint discussion a little bit later, but just one quick question, and if there's any quick question, just one or two from the audience, please feel free. You said that in the council conclusions there would be a strong message in support of digital health. Has there anything been spoiled? In what direction we are going to expect something to have? No, it's not working. I think it's
okay. Yeah, now it's working, right? So yes, I can't tell what the ministers will do until they have actually done it. But what will be presented to them, and so far in the negotiations, first, investments into digital infrastructure, both at the national level, but also in the cross-border settings, is something which is needed and warranted. And this is something that we hope the Commission can also support from their part, because I know they are preparing their communication shortly. Second, actually linking the digital solutions with health policy goals. So it's not anymore technology push, but it will be something which health ministers will agree that it is, why not digital first, which again, I can tell you, a few countries in Europe have stated. So, and the third thing, to make data usable in secondary form for research and development purposes. So it will be a political demand to work on those areas at the member state level, but then also hoping that the Commission will support collaboration in Europe on those three domains.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then indeed, as you already mentioned, we will be on the right track today with a session we will have in the afternoon on big data, secondary data use, for instance. So thank you very much. Okay, so don't see any fingers, and it's my pleasure now to invite Dr. Tapani Pia from the European Commission to speak to us on the digital health key element of European strategies for the future. Tapani, the floor is yours.
Thank you. We have heard many times already today that the e-health needs European solutions. That was the message from Professor Marx in his opening message, but also was message from the State Secretary that North Rhine-Westphalia also wants to participate in these European developments. And indeed, what I would like to tell you very briefly is that what we have been doing on e-health, and I would like to link it to how this works with the cross-border healthcare, and then speak a little bit about our new plans. What are we planning to do within the digital single market? So first of all, the European Union has many years been working on this digital. We have been calling it mostly e-health or m-health. But we have been doing policy development and cooperation. We have had a strategy for the digital single market that was preceded by the action plan on e-health. And the key tool in this development has been the gathering of the member states called the eHealth network. I will come back to that in a minute. There are also several pieces of legislation which are important for eHealth. Of course, much of the horizontal European legislation, like the general data protection legislation, or even the legislation on services, they have implications for health. But we have a specific directive on patient rights in cross-border healthcare, and I will say a few words about that a bit later, because it has been instrumental in making concrete progress at European level. For example, one of the things we are building under this directive is the European reference networks, which is building telemedicine solution in Europe. Nothing works without financing, and that's where the Commission very often can come to help. I discussed with Professor Marx at the beginning, and he said that he has been doing a European project on intensive care. And I guess that there was European financing involved, so that financing sometimes makes things possible, especially it makes things possible to work together. We have also now other financing mechanisms, like one called Connecting Europe Facility, which is particularly important for us because it is with that financing mechanism we are building some of the practical solutions. And there are also financing for the countries directly when they are creating their national or regional health infrastructure, either from structural funds or from the loan arrangements. So we have seen in a country that they got a 250 million euro loan to build something on digital. And actually, our commissioner, Vytenis Andriukaitis, he's really committed to make these digital things happen. He recently tweeted, or he spoke, and it was tweeted by our official site, that we are seeking to overcome the barriers for free movement of patients and free movement of data, as also your state secretary mentioned. So the political commitment at the highest level is very high. What I was very happy to hear is that, and I learned that during the Estonian presidency, all member states are now committing to this thing in their council conclusions. I would like to give you a few concrete examples, two concrete examples, how we are really trying to create something which works for citizens and patients. The first one has an awkward official name of European Digital Service Infrastructure, but in practice it's much better. It's providing a facility to transfer electronic prescription from country A to country B. I know in Germany that is not yet reality, but if you go to Estonia or you go to Sweden, they are 100% e-prescription. So why cannot that e-prescription travel between the countries as the paper prescription can travel? So this is one of the things we are building. And the second one, which is dealing with patient summary, it's a kind of a very short, condensed piece of information. What is the basic health status of the individual? These digital things happen in many countries in isolation. In this one, you have on the left-hand lower corner, you see the Kanta service. Kanta service is very well developed Finnish national infrastructure. All the data, e-prescriptions, patient summaries, the electronic health records are there. On the upper left corner, you see IRIS system. I have to tell you that system does not yet exist. It's still a vision, but the Irish government is also committed to make it happen within the coming 2 years. And on the right-hand side of the slide, you see the national kind of a thematic system. The national system is connecting hospitals, GPs, pharmacies. And I understood from your state secretary that this is exactly what you are trying to do here in North Rhine-Westphalia, networking all the actors in health. What we are trying to do, we are trying to network these different national infrastructures using this eHealth DSI. We are very far advanced with this one. We are hoping that the 9 pioneering countries can go live next summer. This is one example. This would bring concrete benefits for citizens when they are traveling or they are working in another country. The other project I would like to tell you, equally exciting, is the European reference networks. You may not know what the European reference networks are, but they are networks set up after a call by the European Commission to the hospitals and member states to come together to work on rare diseases. Rare diseases are such that the knowledge is very rare. In even a big country like Germany, it may well be that you don't have enough knowledge on rare diseases. So you need to pool knowledge across borders. Following a call to the hospitals and member states, more than 300 hospitals came together with 900 units involved, and they created 24 networks. And the idea is that within these 24 networks, rare disease patients are, their cases are consulted. The idea is not that the patient is traveling from Greece to Portugal for treatment and diagnosis. But the idea is that we are creating an IT system which enables the experts in Portugal, France, and Greece work together on the patient case and give advice how to best diagnose and treat that patient. The exciting thing is that we are expecting the first real patient cases in this telematic system to be taking place by the end of this month. So on just tomorrow morning, we will have the meeting of the 24 coordinators and discussing how are we opening the system for business. And actually, our commissioner has very excited about this possibility of connecting European countries in a telematic system, and he has even said in his speech that this might create a new ecosystem for eHealth. This is much to do with cross-border healthcare because, as you know, the Commission is not working on national level. We are working at the cross-border healthcare level. And the directive on patient rights in cross-border healthcare has been the instrumental tool for us to work on this. It has an Article 14, which is dealing with eHealth. The Article 14 set up the body of the member state eHealth network, which leads the cooperation of the member states and gives directions to eHealth, for example, by adopting guidelines on interoperability. How can different systems talk to each other? I would like to say a few words then about the title of this session, Future. It's very clear that the digital is disruptive. Our expert group who was looking at the disruptive innovation in healthcare in general, they defined disruptive innovation as something which is displacing old systems and ways of doing things. There will be new networks, new organizations, new sets of values, new players, and improved health outcomes. And of course, that is something which needs to be understood very well in healthcare, that digital is disruptive innovation. Some countries have been discussing this issue for much longer. One of these things is happening is an example coming from the country I know best, Finland, where they actually are trying now in electronically combine not only health systems, but also with the social system. This is one of the few examples where I know that the health system and social system are trying to work together using a common information system. So indeed, we are looking for digital transformation in health and care. And that brings to me to my last part, which is what the Commission is planning to do. We have a digital single market strategy. We had a public consultation asking people that what you would like to have from the digital single market. Citizens would like to manage their own health data, as Ain Avikso was saying. They would like to, they think that sharing the health data can be beneficial. And what then we realized that most people do not have electronic access to the health services. The digital transformation in health and care is still at infancy, and especially in many countries, and the discrepancies between countries are very big. And of course, if there's a digital tools, then the citizens would like to interact with the healthcare providers. What the Commission promised last spring in May, that we are working along 3 pillars. The first pillar, which comes to this question of citizens' access and sharing of health data, the e-prescriptions, electronic health records. The second pillar is more related to research. How can this connected data help us to advance research, prevention, and personalized medicine? And the last thing is that how can we make them work for citizens? Okay, and I would like to finish here.
Thank you for this really informative overview that you gave, as always. Any immediate question from the audience? Okay, is there a microphone? Behind you.
Thank you. Very good to see so many useful and promising initiatives. It's very good to see a couple of countries represented here as well. Just going back to the speaker from Estonia, Mr. Avikso, right? As you referred to this initiative, to the task force, and I think you said or invited stakeholders to be part of it as well. How practical, or no, let me put it differently, is it possible for companies to be part of these processes, of these projects? And if so, in what way? That's the first question. Secondly, it's my feeling that much of the initiatives focus on data exchange, electronic health records. I think that's a very important first part of telemedicine, but there is of course more to it. It's also the interaction between the patient and the professional that can be helped through new technologies as well. To what extent is that in scope? So 2 questions, a role for companies in the task force, and second, the scope of the task force.
I will be at this moment very brief, because how exactly one of those task forces functions, Mr. Erik Gerritsen knows much better, because he's leading one of them. Each task force currently has their leader, and since they are dealing with different topics, the actual mode of work is decided within that group. Now, I know that some business representative organizations are already part of that exercise. So there are different ways how this collaboration can work. I know that the work so far, now it is public, so to do, the simplest way is to give feedback. But to participate, by actually contributing in developing those things, I suggest to contact directly to the task force leaders, and they have the processes for that. The second question, well, I really hope that if not anything else, then the big change that will happen with this ministers' council conclusions, but also all other things that are happening in parallel, is that the true meaning to the digital solutions will be given now by those either responsible for health policies or responsible for developing health services, so that technology companies do not need anymore to push their good solutions, but actually there will be strong pull. And that is exactly what the Digital Health Society is about, to help those, well, not just 2 domains, but the policymakers and then those active in the field collaborate better with tangible outcomes.
Fine. Okay, I think the question has been answered. So it's my pleasure now to introduce to my left Erik Gerritsen, Secretary General of the Ministry of Health, Welfare and Sports from the Netherlands. And as it has already been mentioned, you will speak both on the Netherlands but also on your task force in the declaration. So thank you for coming, and the floor is yours.
Let me see how. Yeah. I have to use this, or do you? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary of State Heller, Dr. Marx, and Dr. Schug, for giving me the opportunity to share with you why interoperability is such an important, not to say crucial, topic in the digital health society. And let me just start with a video.
Een paar jaar geleden, toen was haast iedere herfst dat ik een longontsteking kreeg, of erger, waardoor ik in het ziekenhuis kwam. En sowieso fluctueerde bijvoorbeeld mijn energielevel heel erg. Ik ben Tim en ik heb broze botten en ik maak veel gebruik van eHealth, wat mij veel inzicht geeft in hoe het met me gaat. Mijn zorgbehoefte is dat ik hulp nodig heb met opstaan, dus kleding aantrekken, wassen, als ik naar bed ga, hetzelfde liedje omgekeerd. En verder kan ik heel veel zelf. Dit is een apparaatje wat verschillende vitale tekenen van mijn lichaam kan meten. Temperatuur, hartslag en bijvoorbeeld de aantal zuurstof in mijn bloed. Ik zet hem aan en maak draadloos verbinding met mijn iPhone. Ik zet hem tegen mijn slaap aan. Hij is aan het meten. Ik heb de meting gedaan en ik heb de resultaten. En waar ik heel blij mee ben, is als ik me wat minder voel, dat ik dan relatief super gemakkelijk de stand van zaken in mijn lichaam kan opnemen. Als ik me bijvoorbeeld ongerust maak om iets en het is gewoon goed, dan geeft dat gewoon heel veel rust. Ik had veel twijfels rondom mijn handicap en wat ik aankon en niet en wat er normaal was voor iemand met mijn handicap. Sinds een paar jaar zit ik op een platform, All of Me, met een heleboel andere mensen met handicaps. En de ervaringen die ik daar kan uitwisselen, die zorgen ervoor dat ik ook zo'n boost heb gekregen in zelfvertrouwen. Dat ik gewoon een soort beter mens voel. Waar ik wel tegenaan loop is dat veel doktoren er nog niet goed mee weten om te gaan. Of er totaal geen gebruik van maken of willen maken. Het is nieuw, het is eng, zeggen ze. En het gaat op de oude manier toch goed, dus het hoeft helemaal niet. Ik denk dat de overheid eHealth nog wel beter kan stimuleren. Door bijvoorbeeld artsen meer te onderwijzen van wat het kan brengen aan patiënten en wat het de artsen zelf ook kan opleveren. Ja, ik heb een handicap die niet veel voorkomt. Dus dan moet je ver reizen naar een dokter die er verstand van heeft. En vervolgens die dokter die ziet ook heel veel mensen die allemaal heel ver moeten reizen. Als nou een gedeelte daarvan gewoon bijvoorbeeld met beeldbellen ook met die arts zou kunnen overleggen, dan zou het waarschijnlijk veel tijd schelen voor die arts, veel energie voor de patiënten en worden er allemaal beter van.
Yeah, applause for Tim. I will make sure I will pass it on to him by Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, the Digital Health Society is not about a future, it's about the present. It's about making people the masters of their own health. It's about enabling healthcare professionals to deliver the best possible healthcare. It's about doctors and patients being equal partners in making decisions on what is best. And I'm here because people like Tim need us to break down the barriers that prevent him from living his life to the full potential and communicating in a modern and trustworthy way. In the Netherlands, we work hard on creating a flourishing ecosystem for digital health solutions to grow and become part of a regular healthcare. And any ecosystem requires two things: a good climate and fertile ground. And the good climate is about enabling innovative solutions that have proven their value, a platform to grow, to scale up from one healthcare organization to more, from one region to the entire country, and from the Netherlands to Europe. And I've spent the past few days here at the Medica in the company of innovators that wants to do just that. And we are also breaking down barriers by bringing innovation, best practice and skills to healthcare professionals in our Health Innovation School. And we reduce the risks for investors by offering a seed capital fund for smart investments in health innovations. And we're facilitating health deals, health impact bonds, and assisting in removing entertaining obstacles like perverse financial incentives. But the fertile ground, on the other hand, is the foundation on which modern healthcare is built. It's the standards and requirements and legal frameworks that ensure that all communication is safe, secure and trustworthy. That we know who are we communicating with. That our communication has not been altered along the way. that we understand that what we actually mean, and that we can use the data in our own systems for our own specific purposes. And I'm convinced that interoperability is the key to the success of digital health. Not sexy, but immensely important. Whether you want to use meaningful value-based outcome data in your consults, do research into new treatments for cancer, reduce the number of unnecessary hospital admissions related to medication. All of these goals require health data and information systems to be interoperable. Ladies and gentlemen, the importance of interoperability becomes especially evident when we empower people to be the masters of their own health. Making informed decisions about their own health by themselves and together with their healthcare professionals requires access and use of personal health data, and that they can decide how to leverage it, that they could send it to their own doctor to be included in their medical file, or to a healthcare provider as part of a self-care program, or to researchers who are looking into new treatments for their illnesses. You need to be in control of your health data. And allow me to show you a short animation that explains what I mean.
More and more people are interested in actively managing their health data, using the increasing numbers of health-related apps and websites. These developments are commendable, but at how many locations is our health data actually stored? Hospitals, municipalities, general practitioners, pharmacies, the gym, the list goes on and on. Having all this information in a single location makes it easier to manage, share, and use. This offers peace of mind, confidence, and greater insight, and lets you gain an overall picture of your health. MedMy makes sure that a personal health environment like an app and the systems at care organisations are able to communicate with each other safely and use the same language. MedMy sets the rules. The systems in healthcare environments and at care organisations must also meet the requirements set by MedMy, enabling partners affiliated with MedMy to share health-related information from different sources effectively, safely, and confidentially. MedMy gives you greater control of your health, as well as a more complete picture. You can learn more at medmy.nl.
In the Netherlands, the MedMy or Medical Me initiative is working on giving you control of your own data. MedMy is a patient-led coalition of the doing, creating a framework for personal health environments. A personal health environment is a lifelong tool to collect, manage, and share your own health data. Our goal is that by 2020, everyone who wants to can have a personal health environment. And MedMy is not a system or an app. It's a set of rules for all stakeholders to abide by, thus ensuring trustworthy, safe and secure communication. And we do this because research shows that 70% of Dutch people are interested in their own medical data, and 60% would like a personal health environment, and more than 80% wants the option to export medical data from professionals to their own personal digital vault. And in the MedMy program, we see that the biggest challenge is being able to understand the data and make it useful for the patient. And that is where interoperability comes into play. Let me give you a brief example. Research shows that in the Netherlands, every day, 75 people are admitted into a hospital because we don't have up-to-date information about the patient's medication. They get prescribed the wrong dose or type of medication, or the patient's allergies are not listed or exchanged between healthcare professionals. And that is over 27,000 people every year that need to be treated in hospitals because of an information problem. The number of deaths caused by this problem is twice as big as the number of deaths caused by traffic accidents. And we can prevent it. This is an information problem that can be solved by giving people control over their own health data and by using standards in everyday practice. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of today's session is the digital health in a digital society. And we participate in a Digital Health Society initiative that my esteemed Estonian colleague and friend Ain Avisko talked about before. Because the Netherlands is too small. Our healthcare system is one of the best in the world, with many innovative users throughout the country. We have an excellent IT infrastructure, a population with high digital skills and a mature digital healthcare system. And we aim to be a leading testbed for digital health innovation in the world. But there's one important thing that Dutch healthcare is not. It's not unique. To make everyone the master of their own health, we simply must use international standards and interoperability services. This helps us prevent the national vendor lock-in and opens up the Dutch health information market for innovators from the Netherlands and abroad. And it also helps us provide our high-quality care to our European neighbors and ensure that Dutch patients get the care they need abroad and the other way around. The pan-European eHealth network and European Commission projects and programs already do a lot of good work on development and adoption of international standards for cross-border healthcare. And we contribute there where we can. But I believe it's not enough. The Digital Health Society is a coalition of the doing, of people working on improving interoperability between healthcare information systems, including personal health environments. That is why we are leading the task force on interoperability. And our own motto for this task force is think big, act small, start now. And we started by sharing the interoperability standards that are already in use in the Netherlands and what they are used for. We need to link the standards to desired outcomes because using standards isn't a goal in itself. And we need to ensure that these standards add real value to the quality of healthcare delivery and outcomes. The standards need to solve an actual interoperability barrier. And to showcase that standards can help save lives, we started with sharing our approach and standards for improving medication safety. A coalition of primary care, pharmacies, hospitals, nurses and home care organizations created an improved process of prescribing, dispensing and administering medication using modern information standards. And here we see that international developed and used standards are used, like ICPC for describing the reason for prescription for high-risk medication, like UCUM to describe a person's weight, like HL7 and EDIFAC to structure and exchange the messages between the prescribing general practitioner and the pharmacy dispensing the medication. Implementation by the health IT industry and adoption by the healthcare professionals of these standards is essential to build a bridge to the personal health environment. By building these bridges, we are improving our healthcare and saving lives. Ladies and gentlemen, the main reason we joined the Digital Health Society initiative and are leading this task force on interoperability is that it is an opportunity to move from talk to action, to walk the talk. And at the eHealth Talent Conference 1 month ago in wonderful Estonia, we shared our own list of standards that are currently in use in the Netherlands and have been fully adopted by the healthcare providers and their IT system vendors. The Danish Health Data Authority shared its standard catalogue, which contains over 200 standards and their status. And the Greater Manchester area shared the standards and architecture of their DataWall Health Information Exchange platform. And in Tallinn, the Personal Connected Health Alliance, known for the continuous standards, joined the task force. And the Ministries of Health of Lithuania and Finland are very interested. And of course, I hope the government of North Rhine-Westphalia also joins today. A first preliminary analysis shows that there are many international standards that we all use, like DCOM to capture medical images, HIE, XDS to exchange image data, SNOMED CT to code medical data, ICD, ICF and ICPC to classify medical data, DSM for classifying mental disorders, NICE for intensive care and PALGA for pathology. But still, the lack of interoperability prevents us from delivering the best healthcare in our own countries and across Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, I fully realize that by sharing lists of standards, we will not solve the big issues around interoperability. I believe that an issue this complex, this big and this essential can only be addressed by working together. And I love being part of a bigger movement. As you may know, a movement isn't created by a solitary leader, but by his or her first followers. And it is they that transform a lone nut into a movement. The first followers are the true leaders, because they see and understand that by joining the lonely nut, they become part of a bigger meaning. And I want to challenge you all to follow this lone nut and become the true leaders of this interoperability movement. And it is super easy. All we ask is that you join our task force and share which standards are already in use and what for. It also accounts for business. But that's your ticket in. Not talking, but actually come up with your own concrete proposals. All we ask is that you join the task force and share which standards are already in use and what for. So we can map which standards are used, where, and showcase matching standards. And thus we create a bottom-up, de facto European standards, building the fertile ground that is fundamental to make the European eHealth ecosystem flourish. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. That's really a rich presentation that you have shared with us, a real treasure. So people from Rhine-Westphalia, I think, who often go across the border for leisure and other reasons, will have at least 3 to 5 new reasons to come to the Netherlands in the upcoming period. Okay, so you over lunch, I hope there will be, if you have still some minutes, you will be welcomed at the booth of Rhine-Westphalia. So maybe your invitation has been heard, but I'm not the one who could respond to it. So let's see what. As I say, I have no mandate, but others are said it has a mandate. So let's see whether there will be talks today, later on, or at another occasion. So thank you very much again for this really rich message here to the auditorium. So let's move on to Niklas Kramer. He is. He's representing Germany jointly with Oliver Schenk from the Federal Health Ministry and sometimes also with the Secretary of State in the European eHealth network. So he's deeply involved in the German participation in all these European activities. And he will now share his insights on digital health agenda in Europe from a German perspective. So Niklas, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Schug, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear fellow speakers, dear European and also international friends. I see it's a very broad audience here at the Medica. First of all, let me thank North Rhine-Westphalia for the invitation and for giving us the opportunity to discuss these European topics here at this occasion of the Medica. The land of North Rhine-Westphalia, I think I can say this, is and has been very active in the eHealth environment and has thus also contributed to our German federal cause a lot. So thank you. It's good to give us a forum here, I think, because there are a lot of European initiatives at the moment, and I think this was exactly the intention of the Estonian presidency to have sort of a pan-European debate on this very important topic. It is very important because we all over Europe, also in the world, but all over Europe, we face common challenges and changes, not only for regulators like us, but also for and healthcare providers or vendors, but as European societies and patients as a whole, let's say. And I think this is why also the emphasis of Estonia on the digital health society is rightly put. I think for the federal. For the German federal government, the digital single market is, of course, of high priority. If we don't succeed with our digital agenda in Europe, how our Chancellor put it in Tallinn earlier this year, we will lose track in Europe. So it is very important that we update our frameworks. In the health sector, digitalization is becoming or already became, let's say, one of the major drivers for innovation. which bears not only challenges for regulators, for instance, but also, I think, great chances to adopt our systems also to our aging societies. In particular, in Germany, we have in 2030, there's already 35% of the population above 60 with the respective correlation in multiple and chronic diseases. So it's important, I think. It is a gift on one hand, but on the other, it is of course important that we invest into the right technologies to be able to cope with the situation. In Europe, of course, if it comes to healthcare, we have different starting points, and also we have differences in the way how we organize healthcare. So, to be honest, in some member states, it is sometimes more of a question how to assure basic supply, whereas in Germany, of course, we are very lucky to have a very high supply standard. If it comes to eHealth, varieties are, of course, also visible, though I think almost all member states in Europe have their eHealth strategies in place. There are differences. The investments has been undertaken differently with time difference. Some have invested more, some are moving faster, some need more time. We also have differences in, let's say, or cultures in the area of data protection and data security. So what we need are smart approaches and how to come together and assure that we move into the same direction, but at the same time respect the differences. So that is, I think, crucial. Tapani has mentioned the so-called eHealth network under the Patient Mobility Directive. There is also a joint action, let's say, to support the network with the national eHealth competence centers. And I think this eHealth network has been proven to be a very good example to facilitate member states' efforts towards interoperability. And I think I can say that at least for our ministry, we are one of the active members there. There is a new multi-annual work plan probably it will be adopted in 2 weeks' time, where I think we also put the right points, the right emphasis for the next years to come, with also working packages, for instance, in the area of patient empowerment, or let's say mHealth. Also the question, what can we do on the European level in the area of big data technologies, which are of course arising and which is a challenge for all the member states. But we also try to continue, of course, with the current areas. Interoperability was mentioned, but of course also, for instance, how to implement the legislation we have, how to implement the General Data Protection Regulation, and how to discuss these topics. I may also use the opportunity to thank Estonia again very much for their efforts, and also to come to Düsseldorf today. The council recommendations have been mentioned by Ein. I think they will underline the member states' will, how to move forward, and Germany was happy to cooperate there. I think we are also open to Estonia's initiative on the Digital Health Society to call for actions also among stakeholders. I think this was very much the idea that we cannot only do this alone for us member states, but we need the stakeholders and to call for action, and first task forces like ERICs came together. For the cross-border eHealth service infrastructure, which Tapani elaborated on, this is financed under the so-called CEF finance mechanism. I think it is a good way. It is trying to find sort of add-on services to our national infrastructure, how to support patients when they move across borders, and it's a decentral way to exchange data between the national systems. So there is no need for a harmonization, but we try to find smart ways how to exchange data and then support continuity of care. There are, of course, complicated issues. I think you can imagine this, but and I mean it's about sensitive data. But I think in the end we can achieve something practical, and I think we have to continue our efforts, and in the end it also have the nice indirect effect that we come together and try to be more transparent in the area of standards, and also agree on certain guidelines, for instance, how to exchange data. In the end, I think it's of course very much important that we continue with our national efforts. I think Germany is not too far behind, as this is sometimes put in the European debate. With the eHealth Act in 2015, I think the processes we have accelerated a lot. And after all, now we are facing really the deployment phase of our national infrastructure, which is one of the biggest IT projects in the world. It will in the end connect 70 million insured persons, around 200,000 doctors, 21,000 hospitals. So it will be, and it will be connected step by step. And then we also have to, of course, continue our efforts to enhance our strategies also with the new areas of big data and mobile health. And ultimately, I think I can say this, even though we are still looking to Berlin and the coalition talks. But I think it's clear that digital health and additional investments will be also a priority of the new coalition. So I think there is reason for optimism. Thank you again for the invitation, and I'm happy to discuss these topics here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. But it's an interesting statement that Germany is not too much behind. That at least means that there are, as we know, maybe some countries that moved a little bit faster. Okay, thank you very much for your comprehensive overview of where we are, and we are definitely looking forward what will now be the outcome of the next few weeks or even days of the so-called Jamaica coalition interrogations. Of course, whether they will be successful at all. But there have been some news that the debate that we have on some of those key issues that are also debated here on the panel on the European level, which is namely patient access to health data, is also obviously debated in this talk. So let's see whether there will be slow or fast movements now in the next weeks and months. Okay, any immediate reaction on your side? Okay, one. Can we have a microphone? Vielleicht nehmen Sie das hier.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Mike Del Prado. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm actually, first of all, thanks very much for all the introductions. I'm involved as an investor with some software companies that are developing software for the eHealth space. And actually, let's say the example of Tim was very coming to our heart as patients in terms of how it changes the relationship between the patient and the doctor. And I think it's crucial, of course, to have the infrastructure in place to ensure that we create data exchanges and to make it easier, and also to empower us as patients to be able to manage it and to give access to doctors if we are abroad and to manage that process. But what I miss in the debate is actually defining the explicit services, because coming back to Tim's example, it actually changes the relationship between the patient and the doctor, the general physician and the specialists. So it's defining that service and also defining what is the rate, what is the reimbursement rate that the doctor can get to support this new scenario. I think because we all know that reimbursement and compensation drives behavior. So maybe you can react on that.
Okay.
Totally agree. That is also that's the part of what I call the two pillars of making the ecosystem flourish is the infrastructure part, which is most of the time neglected. So that's why I really pushed it forward. And the other part is everything you can from a government point of view to create positive conditions, positive climate. And yes, we are working on removing entertaining obstacles, as I like to call them, like reimbursement things. And they're already possible, because that's another misunderstanding, that people talk about silos. And then I say the silos are in your mind, because if you put the silence in one room, then they can cooperate and say, okay, let's chip in from all the different silos and make it happen. So like things like shared savings are already happening in different countries, I think, also in the Netherlands, but also in other countries. So that's also important, and we play an active role just by saying you can already do it. And if there are little blockades, then we'll make them go away. For example, from January 2018, there will become new reimbursement titles for eHealth services. And of course, what kind of services? I'm not going to come up with these things like from a government. I will ask startups, professionals and patients to come together and make these services. I'm not going to invent them top down, because then I really know for sure that they won't work. But for an venture capitalist, but you will probably know it better than me, it's the one most important criteria to know if a startup is doing the right thing is if they are involving patients from the first point on, because then maybe they come up with a great product, and when they don't do it, then you should not invest in them.
Thank you. Any other statement? Okay, you have a mic.
Can I respond in try to be 3 short parts? First, if you recall, there is one specific task force on the change management in health system, and that is exactly the reason why it is there. We know that there are some examples, popping up here and there. The idea of the Digital Health Society is to make them spread faster, and those good examples that have proven themselves already would be available for others. Second, there are some specific examples where already at the European level things are moving along specific areas, like the rare diseases. This is really the area where we can see that practical collaboration with healthcare professionals and IT people, commission and legal experts are actually delivering services which benefit the patient. There are a lot of barriers. Not all those rare disease groups are equally happy. But this is one area where a European added value is already delivered at the patient level. And I forgot about the third part, but Tapani can take up.
Maybe I like very much your point that we need to specify the services very clearly. And that is, I think that comes what Eric was saying, that we have to stop talking and we have to start walking. And that's why I'm so, for example, personally excited about these European reference networks. Because it's a very clear service for admittedly a smaller group of patients, but still very valuable, very clearly defined added value. If I'm looking at the IT solution, it wouldn't win any prizes because it's pretty normal. Many companies could do that. But what the trick is, how can you bring 26 countries together and 900 hospitals across borders to work together on this point. That is the trick, and that's where the European cooperation, the willingness of the member states and the willingness of the hospital managers and hospital doctors working together comes into question.
Thank you. Niklas?
Yeah, thank you. To add on this, I think this is exactly true what Tapani said, that we have to see where are the concrete use cases if we focus on the cross-border matters. If it comes to reimbursement, this is of course a question of the member states, how to organize reimbursement. On the European level, we discuss, we can exchange how each country is doing this, how they try to facilitate innovation. In Germany, there are matters or mechanisms how innovation can come to the system. Of course, telemedicine is a long story, as we all know, but there are also with the eHealth Act, there are first also reimbursements defined in the law, for instance, video consulting. And on top, there is also, for instance, innovation fund, but also the classic mechanisms for innovation, selective contracts, but also then, of course, the ways to get to the reimbursement. So again, I think we have to focus on the added value, and then we get the service. Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe to react very quickly. Thank you very much for the answers. And I guess I understand that you concentrate on those activities that can be run pan-European, and that the reimbursement systems in all the countries are very different, of course. But still, I would like to challenge. I would like to press that's extremely important to drive the acceptance and also the behavior of everybody. And not to say to someone, oh, what about this app, you know? I mean, yesterday I was at another presentation here, and there was a research done about how many doctors are actually promoting, let's say, to use certain apps. And of course, I mean, they look at 300,000 apps and what is useful, how is the data presented to them, and so on. But I think that's a very important part, and I would like to, let's say, request, let's say, from all the governments really to work with all the doctor organizations to raise the knowledge level and the experience how to work with IT in their day-to-day services. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for interesting contribution.
Can I add? No, I remembered the third short bit of answer. Okay. Again, we'll see what the actual final wording will be. But a part of the Council conclusions, signed and agreed at some point by all member states, will have specific notion on that health ministers acknowledge that digital solutions can help solve their budgetary problems. So reimbursement as something, as a tool which they are using every day, every year, and looking for digital solutions which would help them in their task. I think this would be a universal statement by the health minister. At least I hope in the final round that the ministers will also sign what we have prepared for them.
Taking your point, and if I may maybe move this one point further, actually we have now discussed the role of industry, role of providers to some extent, but how exactly do you see the role of doctors? Okay, I know you both are doctors yourselves. I'm also one. Will we see some changes away from brick and mortar healthcare, or is it just on exchanging data? Will we see different skills in the future, or to be provocative, as I've heard? We may even move, let's say, in 10 years to a time where certain medical specialists may be partly replaced by artificial intelligence. But we are not yet there. But how do you see the immediate future? And also in Estonia, how much do you use teleconsultations, telehealth, or it's just on the data?
While I'll answer, I will kind of challenge first Tapani, one of your slides, which I liked very much, and I hope I can show that. And so this was shown by somebody working from the European Commission. which said that innovation and new care models, and there were a lot of new words on one slide. But we know that if we're creating something new, in order for it to be financially sustainable, we have to get rid of some of the old things. That is the difficult bit. And that is where, by definition, healthcare is conservative. And we don't want our doctors to experiment on us every day. Yet we want them to embrace the change. What we have seen in Estonia, and here I can tell that actually we're trying to bring some of the new solutions we've seen elsewhere to Estonia and to show our doctors. I've seen Finland is just so close to Estonia, so many of my examples will be from Finland, sorry. But a doctor in the Helsinki University Hospital is leading personally 6 different innovation projects. So it's a doctor which is basically nominated as the chief innovator, and so he's then taking or winning over all the other professionals. So that's the way we are also going in Estonia. We're trying to find those champions, those doctors, who are then, leaders among their peers, and then who can convince that actually my patients benefit from that. Why don't you use that as well? And then support them as much as possible, giving them a light, giving them support, and in terms of working from the regulatory side or the payment side. And then, yes, Estonia also has, as of next year, a special innovation fund from the health insurance. We have similar social insurance model as in Germany, except we have one single public payer. And they would have innovation fund, which then will be given to hospitals led by physicians to implement new innovations. So this would be my answer, and the leadership of doctors will be absolutely vital in the whole process.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy that you referred to the slide on disruptive innovation, because it was really as a food for thought. The expert group which looked at disruptive innovation, I would recommend that you all read the opinion. It's about 2 years old. You can find it from the net. But actually what they didn't look at the technological innovation. They actually said that most of the disruptive innovations, they have been social, the organizational, rather than technical. But the technology has very often enabled them. And that's how I see the innovation in this digital, that these tools which we are using here, they are not, of course, the aim of it, but they enable changes how we work, how we do things. And this is absolutely right that that when we are creating something new, we need to take something old out, because the worst thing in a digitalization of any process is that you digitalize the process as it was, and even worse, you digitalize the process as it was, and then you maintain the parallel track. An example comes from Denmark, where they decided to create a hospital of the future, completely digitalized. They realized that they cannot refurbish the old building. So they abandoned the old building and built completely the new hospital. And if I take just an example which I have invented myself, I don't know if it's true, but it could be true, that if you have a digital hospital where patients are not anymore coming in, you don't need to have that big waiting rooms, because if people are contacting the hospital using the telematic means. So even that kind of architecture of hospitals need to be changing. And then, of course, the question is that how many hospitals do we need? How do we organize that? So these are the questions where digital enables new things. The second thing, profession. Indeed, I'm a member of the Finnish Medical Association, and I was very pleased to see that our association started a discussion, how will doctor look like in 2030? And the association members and the leadership of the association really very looked at different possibilities and how the physician's role is changing. And they came to a conclusion that it will be changing because of many things happening now. And one of the things was saying that until now the doctor has been the authority giving instructions, But in the future, actually, when many of us as patients, we can access all the information ourselves, but we need to have a coach who is taking us through that data and coaching us towards the goal of health.
Maybe just to add on that, I'm a doctor as well, but not a doctor in medicine, because I didn't survive the numerous fixes when I tried to apply for the medical study.
Okay.
But I'm a doctor in change management, and I think, and it's Ain mentioned the task force number 4 already. I think what we're looking at is a change management challenge. And it's the same for all the different healthcare systems all over Europe, because they share one thing in common: they are complex. And there's no silver bullet. You need patients, you need professionals, you need CEOs of hospitals and care organizations, you need government, you need business, and you need venture capitalists, and you need people who finance. So that's why in this ecosystem parallel, we try different things and hope that the system then will change from within. And to come back to the doctor story, let's not frame the doctors as the people who resist change. And of course, there are some doctors who resist change, but there are a lot of doctors, and not only the young ones, also people from 55 or older who are very enthusiastic and who are leading change in their own organizations. And then from a change management point of view, the only thing you have to do is ignore the people who are not ready yet and start with the people who are enthusiastic already. And in every country, they are there. Start there and then gradually making a coalition of willing and doing, and success breeds success. Well, you know those principles. So just go and look for the doctors who are already very enthusiastic about it.
Thank you. Okay. No, really.
Yes, just to drive the last point further, as I fully concur with everything that's being said, and I am happy with the answer. But just to reinforce the potential role of the industry, and that's why I asked about potential involvement of companies in the task force. It's indeed very important that doctors are involved, and just I do not want to put our company central, but we're a Dutch company just offering mobile telemedicine, so from ambulances, mobile stroke management. And as use cases, that's the key word, as we do see use cases, it was difficult to explore them in the Netherlands, but we went to the US and very positively find a cooperation with health systems, Trinity, whereby exactly as I said, doctors do not resist, but are happy to cooperate. And with them, we've done a lot of development. That's typically the approach that I very much will seek here as well, and I hear you say that as well. But just to reinforce the point, access to new technologies, give the room out of hospitals to find ambassadors within the industry to adhere to their workflows and to take it further there. That's you're saying it already, but I just want to reinforce the importance of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Willy?
Strootman, empirical eHealth research.
It's not working.
Does it work? Is this what? Can you hear me better now? No? Okay, I'll try to shout in the microphone. Willy Strootman, empirica. Do your countries, Estonia, Finland, Germany, Netherlands, have a comprehensive strategy supported by the governments, but with real investments in engagement of the society as a whole and all stakeholders and all levels? Because I liked, as all of us, Teams video, for instance, but unless Teams makes it into the news, daily news of private TV channels, not only public, we will not be making such progress at the speed we want to. And I am looking now for years for a really comprehensive strategy for engagement. I couldn't find one. Maybe Estonia, Finland, and Netherlands do not need such a strategy, but Germany does need it for sure, and Europe as a whole as well.
Okay, who is going to answer?
Well, this is probably the most difficult question because now we are pinpointing who should start answering. But you know, comprehensive strategy. I'm a little bit in doubt. Of course, we have it, but it's paper and it's the thinking big part, and we can all spend a lot of time thinking big, and then nothing happens. So, okay, we have this strategy, comprehensive strategy. The European Commission has a comprehensive strategy. We have all kinds of declarations where we all agree. We have this Albanese consensus, communistic consensus. So yes, it's of course you have to have it in place, but after that you have to just think small and start now. And just to come back to the patient inclusiveness point you made, the thing we do as one of the different silver bullets we shoot at the problem is patient empowerment. So I'm taking Tim with me, but we have a lot of Tims in the Netherlands from all kinds of different diseases, and so we'll make sure that they are being heard and that there is permanent exposure to these stories, because I believe that that's one of the most important levers for change, that we are confronted on a daily basis with these kinds of stories. And even professionals who say, I'm confronted with these patients every day, and I say, but not like this. It's another kind of conversation you have in your working room than if you listen at the story as it is told like this. So permanent exposure, trying to get a patient guerrilla movement going in the Netherlands and maybe everywhere in the world. Let them all shake to their general practitioners, and why can I have an e-consult, and why should I come every time standing in traffic, waiting in a waiting room for 5 minutes appointments that in 99% of the cases can be done with a video consult. I'm going to change to another general practitioner. If you can get that movement going as well, that would also help to make the system change we are aiming at, I think.
Okay, Ryan?
Yeah, I have a personal story with the strategy. You know, I've been working for the government for 2.5 years approximately. Before that, I was an independent private consultant, and one of my biggest last work was to build an eHealth strategy for Estonia. It's a very nice paper. I still read it every now and then, you know. And then I was invited actually to come to the government and implement it. And then I discovered, you know, the real world is very different. So what I've learned with 2.5 years at the government, what we need is leadership. We need leaders at the political level, but also not only at the political level. They need to be there. They need to give the confidence that actually we start implementing that. Second, these leaders have to be in those different stakeholder groups. We mentioned doctors already. There are civil servants, there are businesses, there are the venture capitalists. And if there is a narrative that they all share, then this comprehensiveness in complex world doesn't come from management. It comes from the leadership, so that the successes are amplified. That is what sometimes government can do. Government can also give some fertile grounds, create the ecosystems. But the actual strategy, the engagement takes place by those leaders and those stakeholders. So one needs to find them. We are trying to do that at the European level also, but the similar digital health society is existent in each and every country and region. So let's just make it kind of alive. So that is how I understand strategy. But I can send you the Estonian eHealth strategy. Very nice paper. I'm very proud of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Or if you want it. And if I well, of course, in the Commission, I'm not here representing Finland, although I'm originally from Finland, but I'm representing the European Union and European Commission. But we also have seen that many countries have strategies, and some countries are implementing them in different ways. I would say that the strategy alone is nothing, but the process how you are creating a strategy is sometimes creating this narrative that if you cannot arrive to a strategy paper, that means that there's some willingness missing from the society. So the paper itself is not going to change, but the process shows that there is this willingness to go. The second thing is that I do not believe that you can digitalize health sector alone. And then there I would like to praise the Estonian presidency, because Estonian presidency was not only about digitalization in health, it was digitalization of society. Because if you don't have electronic banking, if you don't have electronic purchasing through websites and all that, if the people's mindset is not there, that we live in a new way, then you cannot just in an isolation bring a change in one sector. And therefore this broader digitalization of society is necessary, even for the reasons like the availability of broadband, which the State Secretary mentioned in his speech, so that if the infrastructure is not there, it's not for health, but it's for whole society.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Veli. Maybe I can add on this, because I think I was also addressed. Yeah, I mean, I think my fellow speakers have already said what is a strategy, a paper. We in Germany, of course, the eHealth Act sets a strategy. It has a concrete timeline. There are applications in there. There is a common vision. Of course, as I said, we have to enhance our strategy. We see other developments. There's also a very, I think, good approach in the area of research with the Medical Informatics Initiative by the Federal Ministry of Research, where we, as the Ministry of Health, try to work closely together with them to find ways how to bring research and care together. So it is about trying to enhance our strategy step by step. It's of course at the same time we are a federal country. We have self-administration. So there are a lot of actors. There is a fertile ground, let's say, or I mean there are competitive elements we have, which are not necessarily to be bad. I think it's we have a lot of groups now which are trying to get their heads around. Also, the doctors have been mentioned. I think that the doctors in Germany, also the different associations, are now really trying to get involved. And then it will be, of course, the challenge to see how we can move in the same direction, not to define as a ministry everything, but to have sort of a direction. And of course, in the next in the next years to come, we have to see how to enhance the strategy we have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see two people raising fingers. You having but we have only really 1 or 2 minutes left because we have to leave the panel to another venue.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Peter Rickert from Honeywell, and I totally agree with what is being said. There are strategies, but there also must be people that do something. And I'm responsible for Honeywell Global Healthcare, and I'm based in Germany, and we do a lot of work also in the Netherlands. But we see the digitalization mainly in the hospitals described in Denmark. I was in Sweden, in Saudi Arabia. There are some hospitals doing that without looking at the restrictions. And I think we really have to do that. You were talking about waiting rooms for the patients at the hospital. We looked at the total journey of the patient. So with us, they get basically an app and they have it on their smartphone. They drive into the parking and they have a dedicated parking place. They go to the admission, they get their RFID card or their barcode. They go directly to the ward up to discharge. And from there on, we take the eHealth opportunity basically to monitor the outpatient, which is the US was mentioned already here. So there are costs involved for the hospitals if people are readmitted to the hospital. So I think that's the first step to do that. And I've been in discussion with NHS. Britain is maybe no longer part of this initiative, but they have at least one entity that is paying for everything. So they have the complete picture and they see directly the savings.
Sorry, as I said, I have to close the panel. I think your point is well made. You're looking for the comprehensive patient story, and I think this is essential. But I cannot reopen the panel now for any answer. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the panelists, and thank you for the audience and for the question and the discussion. So this the day program on the joint vision for European citizens and patients, which is inspired, as we said, by the Digital Declaration coming from the Estonian Presidency, will continue at 13:20 here with a session on accessible electronic health records. We will then have a session on big data tools for healthcare and later on in the afternoon, where also this German Medical Informatics Initiative will be introduced, that has been mentioned by Niklas, and will also discuss e-skills and with transatlantic perspectives then at 4. So you're not supposed to sit here for the whole day, but it would be nice to welcome you back maybe at some point of today's agenda. So thank you very much again, the panel and the audience.